YouTube vinyl community, Beach Boys fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens. We are here today to talk about the Beach Boys' 1969 release, 2020, released on Capitol Records in 1969. This album, for a lot of people, is definitely a bit of a mixed bag, and it is for me too. It came out in February of 69, hit number 68 on the charts. Not a bad showing compared to what Friends had done just a few months earlier. Hit number 3 in the UK, which is, where they were popular at that point. But this album has always been a bit of a struggle, and I think even a few of the Beach Boys themselves were never too happy with it. I remember reading somewhere Dennis was even like, not feeling that one. Basically, they had to fulfill their contract with Capitol, and they scraped through the archives to see what was available, or what was lying around that they can dig up and try to reimagine and use again. So this album spans the course of a few years worth of different stuff hanging around, or some new tracks. And it shows. The mixed bag approach definitely shows. The sequencing on this album, I've never been a fan of. I think it's awkward. It could have been done a lot better, and I'll show you my version of what I think this album could have been. Had it been done with a little bit more care. I think it was kind of hastily put together just to put something out there and get it done. Coming off of 1968, the Beach Boys had a really, really rough year in 68 with no one buying the Friends album. They had to cancel a bunch of shows. In America, they just were not popular anymore. But in England and the rest of the world, they were just on fire. Every other country wanted to devour these guys and their music. They absolutely ate this stuff up. So as the Friends album was finishing up, they were in the studio on and off throughout a lot of 1968, just kind of horsing around. They weren't really doing anything super serious. They did tracks like I Went to Sleep. They started the Sail Plane song. Soul Plane would have been sweet. Al had a song called Walkin'. And they even went back even further to dig up a couple Smile tracks, and then a couple songs that Bruce was thinking about, like Bluebirds Over the Mountain and The Nearest Faraway Place, which apparently he started writing in 1967. Pretty cool. Throughout the rest of the year, they were working more on Can't Wait Too Long, which never got to be released. I Can Hear Music, Time to Get Alone, All I Want to Do. As the year went on, though, things were just bits and pieces. Brian was in and out because at this point he was also checking himself into a rehab facility to try to get himself back in check. And things were just kind of falling apart for the guys. That's what, for me, this album says we're really trying here. And while the songs themselves are good, I think the effort behind it is a little to be desired. To try to put that into some sort of sense of wording. But with that, I can go into more detail as we talk about this. But Do It Again opens this thing up. I want to show you the inside, because Brian's not on the cover, but he is on the inside. Look at that. He's seen everything 2020. This is a 2014 reissue. I don't have an original copy of this. I know, don't tell anybody. But the great thing about the back of this thing, it says, originally released in 1964 by Capitol Records. So a mystery there. Do It Again. It was a 1968 single. It was a top 10 hit for the guys. Went to number 1 in a few countries. It was a big smash song for them. And a lot of people always say, oh, it's their return to surfing. A return to surfing, like a return would mean more than one track. Like they would dedicate a whole album. I think one-off song is not a return to surf rock. Just because they mention the word surf in it doesn't mean that they're returning to surf rock. They also had a song called Surf's Up. Does that mean they're returning back to surf rock? Come on, people. This song itself, though, really hits all the marks of a classic song, or of a Beach Boys hit. It's got a good tempo, really fun lyrics, a catchy chorus, and a really bizarre layering of drums that just happen to come together really well, and it worked, and that's what gives the song its really unique flavor for the intro there. The echo on the vocals, the overall production of the track itself definitely lends itself to a bit of a nostalgic feel, but it sounds current, and I think people just really enjoyed hearing just a lighthearted, fun rock song. And on some copies of the Friends album, it was tossed onto that album as well, but they, in America, got tossed onto this album. I do like this song a lot. I love it. It's one of my favorite songs they ever did, but I don't know why they threw on the workshop tag from Smile at the end of the song. I have no idea why they did that. It doesn't make any sense or add anything to the track. Literally, if they were just pilfering the vaults for Smile material and feel like throwing that on, I don't know why they did that. I Can Hear Music. I mean, this is absolutely one of the most breathtaking songs they've ever done, and Brian is nowhere to be found on this thing. This is 100% Carl producing this song to the point where he was just able to produce what Brian could have done a few years earlier. It's amazing. It's truly an amazing track. Their vocals are so on point. The really breezy, airy production is absolutely astounding. Carl's lead vocal is one of the best he's ever done. It's up there with God Only Knows and Darlin' and all those songs. Just stunningly beautiful track. Again, this is also like the beginning of like when they would start doing their vocal interplay sections that they would continue with Marcella, You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone. This is one of the beginning tracks of what would become a theme for them in the next few years. But it's so cool to hear Carl being so in the zone producing, and he was only in his early 20s at this point, just watching what his big brother did. Fascinating. Absolutely great track. Bluebirds Over the Mountain. This is definitely a different vibe for them, and this was a song that Bruce was trying to push to get played in clubs that people could dance to. Interesting choice. Very sharp, almost gritty guitars on this song, so it's definitely a departure from their, for lack of a better term, peaceful kind of songs. They had like rock and roll guitars before, but the edge and the aggression that comes out of this style of playing on this song is definitely something they hadn't messed around with before. It works. I mean, it's a great song. The live version from Live in London album is also fantastic, but all the peaceful harmony vocals at the end, that cool slide up on the guitar neck with the slide on the guitar. Very cool song overall, but very fun. I love Mike's lead vocals on this track a lot. Be With Me. Here's Dennis. This is the beginning of more of his big, boomy, powerhouse feel songs. Rich, layered, dense production. Big, heavy bottom end on this track. Lots of low end bass. Good horns on this track. This was definitely the early steps of his large arrangement of tracks that would eventually lead him up to, throughout the 70s and into Pacific Ocean Blue. This was the stepping stone to get to that point. But I love his vocals on this one, and you definitely get a sense of that urgency, that immediacy, that warmth and depth of a very deep guy with a lot on his mind. For as much of a party animal as he was a very deep guy. All I want to do, I should say. Mike delivers his most vocal shredding performance of his career, just like laying it out on the line, just literally screaming and yelling into the microphone. Very unusual track for the guys. It's definitely more of an upbeat, in-your-face rock and roll track, but especially Mike's vocals. I mean, he's never done anything like this before, and I think it works really well. You can tell he's a little bit out of his comfort zone, but he also nails it really well. I think it's cool to see him take a chance and a risk with his voice. And I think the rest of the guys do a good job with the backup. I love the horns on this track. Just a fun song to listen to. It moves along real well. It's got a great energy. Just super upbeat. Cool song. The Nearest Faraway Place is a really beautiful track from Bruce, instrumental. And he wrote it in the style of Pet Sounds. He was influenced by that album and Brian Wilson's productions and his songwriting. And he wanted to write something like that. So he wrote that song with that in mind. Cotton Fields. So this is a great idea from Al. Just as much as Sloop John B was a couple years earlier, he wanted to bring this song, another bluesy, folksy, I wouldn't say traditional, but definitely an older song to the fold and see what happens. This original version of it, I think, was produced by Brian, and it's not bad. It's got a great feel to it. It's kind of fun, kind of loose, kind of light. The single version that Al ended up producing a few months later, I really think that one takes the cake. That version is very, very cool, very, very upbeat. It was a big hit for them, too. It went to #1 in a few countries, in the top 10 in a bunch of other countries. So Al did it again. He totally struck gold, had struck lightning twice with, bringing in a different song, putting the Beach Boys spin on it, and it worked. So, very cool track there. I Went to Sleep. So, hey, it's Brian. Brian's here. This song for me is very, very, I would say hard to listen to, because for me it's a very depressing song. It's just about like how life is going by and he just goes to sleep. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I've read a lot of things where people said, "Oh, it's just a nice song about relaxing and chilling out and looking for, just an escape, just to be peaceful." I see it in a different way. I see it as Brian basically saying, like, I just give up. Like, I'm just going to go to bed. I don't care. I don't care if the sprinklers come on. I don't care if the music is on the radio. I have no interest in doing anything right now. I just want to go to sleep. And then maybe that's just my perception of how I read into things. But that's just the vibe I get from it. It's not a very happy song for me. It's a very, like, I'm just going to run my course right now, and this is the last gasp of energy I have, and here's what I got for this album, guys. This is it. Time to Get Alone. This was dusted off from 1967 to fill up the album. It's a wonderful little song about, love and peace, and for this song, for me, I feel like this could have been a much bigger hit. I feel like if it had come out in 67, I think it would have done really well. Maybe in 69 it could have done okay. But with the right promotion behind it, and maybe just like a touch more different production techniques, I really think this could have been a bigger hit for them. It's got all the elements of a really, really sweet pop song, bubbling somewhere in the top 20. I can totally see that track out there. Yeah, Never Mind Not to Love, Never Learned Not to Love. We're not talking about that one. I don't care. I just don't care. Just don't care. And then you get two tracks from Smile, Our Prayer and Cabin Essence. So, beyond the fact that these two tracks are absolute stunning pieces of work from one of the most brilliant albums never released, they are so awkward on this album. Their placement is so random to just throw two Smile songs at the end. It's such an awkward ending. Ending with Cabin Essence isn't a bad choice, but I think that having Our Prayer right before it is a bit awkward. So with that, I'm going to give you my version of 2020, how I think they could have done this a little bit more better, resequenced with a couple of different songs that were hanging around at the time. Because remember, this is before Breakaway came out. If Breakaway had been out by that point, it would have been on this album, but the single came out a little bit after this album did. So 2020, my version, you open with Our Prayer. Let's just put that out there. Open with Our Prayer. It's an amazing opening track. Yeah, it's supposed to be the first track of Smile, but Smile didn't come out at that point. So who cares? So Our Prayer, first song. Get you in the mood. This can be a cohesive Beach Boys album. Leading out of Our Prayer, I think it would blend in really well to Do It Again. I think that'd be kind of cool to hear that drum beat come at the very tail end of the vocals there. Just mixing right into that. And then take off the workshop tag at the end. Just put the single version on there. I think the workshop thing is a dumb choice. I don't know why they did that. Followed by Bluebirds Over the Mountain, Be With Me, We're Together Again. I think they could have fleshed out that song a little bit more and filled that one out some and then put that on here for a really solid track. And then The Nearest Faraway Place, ending side one, just like it does on this one. Side two, where Cotton Fields is a decent song to open side two, I really feel like you need more of a punch. So I Can Hear Music opens side two. And I'm going to put all this down in the description box. You can read it there too. But I Can Hear Music, that's how you start side two. Big, boomy opening song, perfect. And as that fades out, you fade into I Went to Sleep, which pans really nicely into Cotton Fields from there. And the ending of Cotton Fields has enough oomph to lead you into All I Want to Do, which I think would be kind of a cool transition. But as that song fades out, because it does have a nice little fade out at the end, a little bit of a fade out. Time to Get Alone, I think, would fit nicely after that. And then the curveball, after Time to Get Alone, Can't Wait Too Long. That's probably, if I had to pick a favorite Beach Boys song, that's probably my favorite Beach Boys song. It's amazing. It's got so many amazing vocal parts. The music on there is so interesting. It's a shame they never finished it because it's an absolutely beautiful, amazing, gut-wrenching track. There's so much to it, and I think that would make a super, super strong impression on this album to have it there. And then end with Cabin Essence from there. So that's how I would have done this album. Overall, as it stands, I'd probably give this thing like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. The songs themselves are good, but I think the sequencing, the the Charlie Manson song, like there's a lot on this album that troubles me. Um, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not the best thing they ever did, and it's kind of a weak ending to their Capitol run, but it could have been a lot better. But at that point, Capitol just didn't care anyway, so basically whatever the Beach Boys gave them, they probably just would have just put out anyway, because they figured, why not? We're going to have a hard time selling this stuff anyway in America, so who knows what it could have been. But here's the back cover with the guys. Oh, look at that. They actually reversed it. Huh. Because it says Beach Boys 2020 backwards on my side, but you're seeing it on the camera here, and it's showing it correct. But yeah, so that's the album. I'd probably give this thing like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It's good. Could have been gooder. So my name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with the Beach Boys 2020. Again, I feel like this is something I can just spend forever talking about because a lot happened after this album too, especially with Sunflower, which will happen at some point, I promise. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think of this thing. I'm excited to talk about it with you guys, and that's it. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.